What if I told you that a prophecy written thousands of years ago is unfolding right before our eyes? That a hidden power warned about in the book of Daniel is already at work, shaping the world in ways most people don't even notice? The little horn, a mysterious figure in biblical prophecy, is not just an ancient symbol, but a key to understanding the forces influencing our world today. Could we be seeing its rise? And if so, what does that mean for us? In this video, we explore the true identity of the little horn and its connection to the Antichrist in the book of Revelation. You won't want to miss these shocking details that have been foretold for centuries, details that may be playing out right before our eyes, so stay tuned until the end. And if you enjoy content like this, please support us by liking this video and subscribing to our channel so you never miss an important lesson. Turn on the notification bell to be notified when we release new content that will strengthen your faith and help you understand the times we live in. Now let's begin our journey into the prophetic mysteries of Daniel's vision. Have you ever heard of the little horn? No, it's not some random animal horn. It's actually one of the most intriguing and mysterious figures in biblical prophecy. A hidden enigma, yet one that holds the key to understanding major events in the future. The Bible is filled with symbols and prophecies that, when understood correctly, provide us with a glimpse of what is to come. Among these, the vision of the prophet Daniel stands out as one of the most profound. Daniel, a faithful servant of God, was gifted with the ability to interpret dreams and visions. His accounts in the book of Daniel are filled with prophetic imagery that reveals the rise and fall of kingdoms, leading up to a future ruler known as the little horn. But who or what is the little horn? Is it a historical figure, a system of power, or something yet to come? The answers lie in Daniel's incredible vision in chapter 7. To truly grasp the significance of the little horn, we must first understand the broader vision Daniel received. His dream was not just a depiction of random creatures, it was a divine message about the course of history, the nature of world powers, and the ultimate sovereignty of God over human affairs. The rise and fall of kingdoms were already determined by divine decree, and at the center of these unfolding events stood the emergence of the little horn, a force that would shake the world. This prophecy serves as both a warning and an assurance. It warns of a future leader who will oppose God and mislead many. Yet it reassures us that his power is temporary and ultimately divine justice will prevail. By diving deeper into the details of Daniel's vision, we uncover truths that are not only relevant to biblical times, but also to our modern world. In the 7th chapter of the book of Daniel, the prophet describes an extraordinary vision he received while in Babylon. He saw 4 great beasts emerging from the sea, each representing a powerful empire that would dominate the world. This vision is crucial to understanding the sequence of historical events and ultimately the rise of the little horn. The sea in Daniel's vision represents the chaotic nations of the world, constantly shifting with political unrest and the struggle for power. The 4 beasts symbolize major world empires that would rule before the final kingdom of God is established. Unlike traditional historical records, this vision gives us a divine perspective on world history, revealing not just what happens, but the spiritual forces at play behind these events. Daniel's vision aligns with historical developments that followed. The description of each beast corresponds with empires that played significant roles in shaping civilization. However, what makes this vision extraordinary is its emphasis on the final ruler, the little horn, who rises out of the last beast's kingdom, a ruler with unprecedented power and arrogance. Each of the 4 beasts in Daniel's vision represents a major kingdom, aligned with historical events that unfolded after his time. These beasts are described in detail, showcasing their characteristics and behaviors that align with actual empires from history. The first beast, the lion with eagle's wings. The first beast was like a lion with the wings of an eagle. This beast represents the Babylonian Empire, known for its power, speed, and dominance. The combination of a lion and an eagle is significant. Both are symbols of strength and authority. The wings being plucked off, as described in the vision, could symbolize the fall of Babylon from its height of glory, particularly under the rule of King Nebuchadnezzar, who was humbled by God and forced to recognize divine authority. The Babylonian Empire was renowned for its military might and architectural advancements, including the famed Hanging Gardens. However, its arrogance and reliance on human strength over divine guidance led to its eventual downfall, much like the plucking of the eagle's wings. The second beast, the bear with 3 ribs in its mouth. The second beast resembled a bear, raised on one side with 3 ribs in its mouth. This is widely understood to represent the Medo-Persian Empire. The bear, a slower yet incredibly powerful predator, signifies the nature of the empire, conquering and subduing with sheer force. The fact that it was raised on one side indicates the dominance of Persia over the Medes. The 3 ribs likely symbolize the major conquests of the empire: Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt. Unlike Babylon, which relied on speed and strategy, the Medo-Persian Empire was known for its overwhelming numbers and persistence in warfare. This mirrors the nature of a bear. Though not as fast as a lion, its strength allows it to overpower its enemies. The third beast, the 4-headed, 4-winged leopard. Next, Daniel saw a beast like a leopard, but it had 4 wings and 4 heads. This beast represents the Greek Empire, led by Alexander the Great. The leopard's speed symbolizes the rapid conquests of Alexander, who managed to defeat vast territories in an incredibly short time. The 4 heads indicate the division of his empire into 4 parts after his death, ruled by his generals: Cassander, Lysimachus, Seleucus, and Ptolemy. The swiftness of Alexander's campaigns is unparalleled in history, conquering vast lands from Greece to India in just over a decade. However, his untimely death led to the fragmentation of his empire, fulfilling the prophecy of the 4-headed leopard. The fourth beast, the dreadful, iron-toothed beast with 10 horns. The last beast in Daniel's vision is unlike any animal we know. It was dreadful, terrifying, and exceedingly strong. With iron teeth and 10 horns, this beast represents the Roman Empire. Unlike the previous kingdoms, Rome didn't just conquer, it assimilated, controlling vast territories with an iron grip. The 10 horns symbolize 10 future rulers or divisions that would emerge from this empire, setting the stage for the rise of the little horn. The Roman Empire was unmatched in its governance, military strategy, and legal systems, many of which still influence modern civilization. However, its transformation over time, leading to various offshoots, paved the way for the rise of new rulers, including the prophesied little horn. Among the 10 horns of the fourth beast, a new smaller horn suddenly appeared, uprooting 3 of the original horns. This little horn is a figure of immense power, unlike any of the rulers before it. Unlike the other horns, which are simply part of the beast, this one stands out. It has eyes like a human, symbolizing intelligence, and a mouth that speaks boastfully, an indication of arrogance and opposition to divine authority. This unique trait suggests that the little horn is not just another kingdom like the 10 horns, but a specific, intelligent entity, possibly a ruler or a deceptive system that operates with strategic influence. The presence of human-like eyes implies that this horn has the ability to discern, manipulate, and lead people astray. Throughout history, figures who have sought to dominate the world have done so not just through brute force, but through political cunning, persuasive speech, and strategic alliances. The eyes indicate that the little horn will rely not only on military strength, but also on deception, diplomacy, and control over societal institutions. This characteristic has led many scholars to link the little horn with the Antichrist, as described in 2 Thessalonians 2:9-10, where it is said that the coming of the lawless one will be in accordance with how Satan works. He will use all sorts of displays of power through signs and wonders that serve the lie. The little horn is not just an ordinary ruler, it is one who speaks boastful and blasphemous words, challenging divine authority. This mirrors the description of the beast in Revelation 13, which also speaks proud words against God and seeks to deceive the nations. In history, many rulers have sought to elevate themselves above God, declaring themselves divine or demanding worship from their people. Examples include the Roman emperors, who claimed to be gods, or modern totalitarian leaders who suppressed faith and positioned themselves as the ultimate authority. The little horn's boastful speech suggests an individual or system that will rise to global prominence, rejecting God and demanding absolute allegiance. One of the most significant aspects of the little horn is its removal of three other horns, which represents the overthrow of three existing rulers or powers to establish its dominance. This could indicate political maneuvering, war, or strategic suppression of rival ideologies. Historically, we have seen powerful leaders eliminate opposition through alliances, betrayals, and military conquest. Whether through direct war or economic and ideological suppression, the rise of a single dominant ruler often involves the downfall of competing powers. The fact that the little horn does not emerge as an entirely new entity, but grows out of the fourth beast, Rome, suggests that it is a continuation or transformation of a Roman-based system of governance or ideology. Some interpretations see this as a revived form of the Roman Empire, possibly through a future global government or federation. This act of uprooting and replacing existing rulers signifies an aggressive and calculated rise to power, a characteristic that aligns with the descriptions of a future world leader who will unify nations under a deceptive pretense of peace and order. The rise of the little horn is not just an isolated prophecy, it holds deep implications for the future. This mysterious figure has intrigued scholars, theologians, and believers for centuries. The identity of the little horn remains a subject of debate. Some believe it refers to a historical figure such as Antiochus IV Epiphanes, a Seleucid king who desecrated the Jewish temple in 167 BC. Others see it as a representation of the papal system that arose after the fall of Rome. However, many theologians argue that this prophecy refers to a future ruler, one who will play a crucial role in the end times, aligning closely with the biblical Antichrist. Many aspects of the little horn's characteristics can be seen throughout history in rulers who sought absolute power, persecuted God's people, and opposed divine law. However, the full fulfillment of this prophecy seems to point to the future, as Daniel describes this figure as one who will emerge in the final days before God's ultimate judgment. The connection between Daniel's vision and the book of Revelation suggests that the little horn's rule will coincide with the tribulation period described in the end times. In Revelation 13:7, it is said of the beast, "It was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them." This echoes Daniel's prophecy of the little horn oppressing the saints. The little horn and the beast from the sea in Revelation 13 share striking similarities. Both speak blasphemous words against God. Both make war against the saints and overcome them for a time. Both rise out of an existing power structure, Rome in Daniel and a coalition of nations in Revelation. Both are ultimately destroyed by God's divine intervention. Many theologians argue that the little horn is the same entity as the Antichrist, described in 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4, where Paul warns that the man of lawlessness will be revealed, the one doomed to destruction. He will oppose and exalt himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped, so that he sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. Understanding the little horn is not just about knowing history or predicting the future. It serves as a warning for believers today. The Bible tells us to be spiritually discerning and prepared for the deception that will come. In Matthew 24:24, Jesus himself warns, "For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect." As we examine the modern world, we see many signs that could align with the prophecies in Daniel and Revelation. The rise of global governance and centralized control, increased persecution of faith and suppression of biblical truth, technological advancements that could enable mass surveillance and control over economic systems, leaders and movements that elevate themselves above God's law, seeking total allegiance. The little horn's rule will be temporary, but its impact will be profound. Understanding this prophecy allows believers to stand firm in their faith, recognizing the signs of deception while trusting in God's ultimate victory. At first glance, the little horn might seem like just another ruler in a long list of political figures in history. However, when we take a closer look at its characteristics, we realize that it is far from ordinary. This entity is different. It does not simply seek political control, but aspires to something far greater, to replace God himself in the hearts and minds of people. The ambition of the little horn is not just about ruling territories. It is about establishing dominance over belief systems, values, and ultimately the spiritual destiny of humanity. Unlike other historical leaders who have sought power through military conquests or political maneuvering, this ruler introduces a new form of control, spiritual deception combined with authoritarian rule. One of the most defining characteristics of the little horn is its relentless opposition to God. It does not merely ignore God, but actively works to replace him, presenting itself as a higher authority. This aligns with passages in 2 Thessalonians 2:4, which describe a figure that sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. This is not just a struggle for earthly power, it is a cosmic battle between truth and deception, between divine authority and human rebellion. Additionally, the little horn does not operate alone. It uses systems of governance, media, ideology, and even religious institutions to spread its influence. Rather than an open dictatorship, it may rise through subtle shifts in culture, education, and social policies, gradually steering people away from God. Its methods may involve altering historical records, manipulating religious texts, or redefining morality so that what was once considered righteous becomes unacceptable, and what was once regarded as sinful becomes celebrated. This insidious approach ensures that even those who once held strong convictions may find themselves questioning the truth, deceived by carefully crafted lies. It is not just about enforcing laws, it is about shaping perceptions, altering history, and redefining the truth so that its influence is woven into the very fabric of society. The little horn will position itself as an agent of progress, convincing people that rejecting divine authority is a step toward enlightenment and unity. This deception is further intensified by its control over global communication channels, mass media, and cultural institutions. It will seek to dictate what is taught in schools, what is promoted in entertainment, and what values are celebrated. By infiltrating the educational system and shaping public discourse, it will normalize ideas that oppose God's truth, making it increasingly difficult for people to distinguish between right and wrong. The Bible provides several defining features that allow us to recognize the little horn when it emerges. Here are 4 major attributes that set it apart. 1. Self-exaltation. Unlike typical rulers who seek political power for economic or military dominance, the little horn is unique in that it seeks worship and ultimate control over human thought. It presents itself as the highest moral and spiritual authority, demanding loyalty above all else. Historically, we have seen examples of leaders who sought to replace religious institutions with state control, dictating what people could believe and worship. In ancient Rome, emperors declared themselves gods, while in modern history, totalitarian regimes have attempted to eradicate faith and replace it with ideological devotion to the state. The little horn follows this pattern but on a global scale, demanding absolute allegiance, not just from one nation, but from the entire world. This is not mere political ambition, but a direct challenge to God's sovereignty, mirroring Satan's original rebellion in Isaiah 14:13-14, where Lucifer declares, "I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God." It may present itself as a savior figure, offering solutions to global crises such as economic instability, climate change, or geopolitical conflicts. Through a combination of charismatic leadership and enforced compliance, it will draw people into its fold, making them believe that obedience to its system is the only way forward. 2. Persecution of the saints. One of the most chilling aspects of the little horn is its role in the persecution of God's people. The Bible repeatedly warns that this entity will wage war against the saints and prevail against them for a time, Daniel 7:21. This means that those who refuse to conform to its rule will be targeted, oppressed, and even eliminated. Persecution is not always violent. It can take the form of economic exclusion, social shaming, censorship, and legal penalties. We see glimpses of this today where certain beliefs are labeled as intolerant or outdated, and those who hold biblical convictions are marginalized. This form of soft persecution paves the way for more direct oppression in the future. Throughout history, countless believers have suffered persecution for refusing to bow to oppressive rulers. From the early Christians who were thrown to lions in Rome, to modern-day believers who face imprisonment and execution for their faith, This pattern continues. The rise of the little horn will bring an unprecedented level of global persecution, where refusing to comply with its decrees will come at a great cost. 3. Changing laws and times. The little horn does not merely seek to govern in the traditional sense, it rewrites the moral, spiritual, and legal fabric of human civilization. According to Daniel 7:25, this figure will attempt to change times and laws, which suggests a dramatic alteration in religious observances, cultural norms, and foundational principles that have long guided societies. One key method is modifying religious calendars and traditions. Historically, oppressive regimes have sought to erase religious observances, replacing them with state-sanctioned events or ideologies. For example, in some periods of history, leaders have restructured religious festivals, altered sacred holidays, or enforced secular alternatives, forcing entire populations to conform to a man-made system rather than divine ordinances. This change in laws could also involve legislating morality, redefining what is considered good or evil by human decree rather than divine law. The little horn will seek to replace God's commandments with its own decrees, compelling people to accept a distorted version of righteousness. In the modern world, we see glimpses of this phenomenon through movements that redefine traditional values, alter fundamental legal principles, and silence those who uphold biblical morality. Laws that once protected faith and worship may be overturned, and those who resist these changes may find themselves penalized or ostracized. By altering laws and traditions, the little horn ensures that future generations grow up in a world where divine principles are foreign, obsolete, or even considered dangerous. This slow erosion of truth prepares the way for complete control over human consciousness and behavior. 4. Manipulating the masses with deceptive speech. The little horn's most powerful weapon is not just its military or political power, it is its words. The Bible describes it as having a mouth that speaks great things, Daniel 7:8, signifying a highly persuasive, charismatic, and deceptive nature. This figure will not conquer the world through brute force alone, but through strategic rhetoric, propaganda, and false promises. Deception is one of Satan's most effective tools, and the little horn will use speech to manipulate the masses, making false claims of peace, unity, and progress while subtly undermining God's truth. Throughout history, powerful leaders have swayed entire populations through speeches that appeal to emotions rather than truth. By offering false hope, twisting moral values, and silencing dissenting voices, the little horn will create a system where millions willingly submit, believing they are embracing something good, when in reality, they are walking into deception. This manipulation will be so powerful that even many believers may be deceived, as warned in Matthew 24:24, which states, "For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect." While many scholars believe the ultimate fulfillment of this prophecy is still in the future, we can see shadows of the little horn throughout history. Numerous leaders have embodied some of its traits, demonstrating how this prophetic warning has played out in different eras. Roman emperors declared themselves divine and demanded worship. Medieval rulers manipulated religion for political gain, persecuting those who resisted. Totalitarian regimes in the 20th century sought to replace God with ideology, enforcing loyalty to the state through fear and propaganda. Modern secular movements increasingly push religious faith to the margins of society, favoring human-centered ideologies over divine truths. These examples serve as a precursor to what is coming. The final fulfillment of the little horn's rule will likely combine elements of past oppressive systems while introducing new forms of control made possible by technology and globalism. The globalized world has created the perfect conditions for a centralized authority to emerge, one that dictates morality, controls the flow of information, and dictates the boundaries of faith. The rise of artificial intelligence, surveillance systems, and media monopolies can all play a role in strengthening such control. The little horn may not rise as a single person, but as a global ideology or movement that infiltrates every aspect of human life. The prophecy of the little horn in Daniel 7 is closely tied to the beast described in Revelation 13. These two figures share key similarities, suggesting that they may represent the same end-time ruler or system. Both speak blasphemous words against God, Both persecute the saints and overcome them for a time. Both rise from an existing political structure, Rome and a future global empire. Both ultimately face divine judgment and destruction. The beast in Revelation is said to deceive the nations, requiring absolute loyalty and forcing people to receive its mark to participate in society. This aligns with the little horn's ambition to change laws, control thought, and dominate world affairs. This connection underscores that the little horn is not just a historical symbol, but a real future entity, a ruler or system that will rise in the last days to challenge God and establish temporary dominion over the world. The rise of the little horn is not just about military conquest or political dominance. It is about the systematic remolding of humanity's beliefs, values, and loyalties. And unless one stands firmly rooted in the truth of God's word, they may not even realize they are being led astray. The book of Revelation provides a detailed vision of the end times, particularly in Revelation 13, where it describes two beasts that play a major role in global deception and control. These beasts bear striking similarities to the little horn in Daniel's vision, suggesting that they are interconnected in part of the same prophetic sequence. The first beast, described in Revelation 13, 1 through 8, is a powerful entity that emerges from the sea, possessing 10 horns and 7 heads. This creature mirrors the imagery in Daniel 7, where the fourth beast with 10 horns gives rise to the little horn. Key characteristics of the first beast include: it receives power from the dragon, Satan. This aligns with Daniel 7:8, where the little horn speaks great things and blasphemies against God. It exercises global authority. This beast does not merely control a single nation, but has dominion over the whole world, echoing the ambition of the little horn. It persecutes the saints. Just as the little horn wages war against God's people, the first beast in Revelation seeks to destroy those who remain faithful to Christ. It appears as a political and military power. The first beast represents a world government or system that will attempt to consolidate absolute control over humanity. It sustains a deadly wound that is healed. This miraculous recovery will astound the world and cause many to follow it in admiration, setting the stage for its rise to prominence. It speaks great blasphemies against God. This directly parallels the boastful words spoken by the little horn in Daniel's vision, further cementing their connection. It has authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. Unlike past empires that had limited influence, this beast seeks absolute global dominion, controlling both political and religious aspects of society. This beast is not just a single ruler, but a global empire, ideology, or movement that seeks total control. It is a direct counterfeit of Christ's kingdom, offering worldly security and prosperity in exchange for absolute loyalty. The second beast, often called the false prophet, is described in Revelation 13:11 through 18. This entity supports and strengthens the rule of the first beast. Key characteristics of the second beast include: it looks like a lamb but speaks like a dragon. This suggests that it will appear gentle, even religious, but will ultimately deceive the world with satanic influence. It performs false miracles. Like the deceptive powers of the little horn, this beast will use supernatural signs to convince people to worship the first beast. It enforces the mark of the beast. The second beast establishes a system of economic control, ensuring that only those who comply can participate in society. It directs worship toward the first beast. Instead of drawing people to God, the second beast points humanity toward allegiance to a false authority. It creates an image of the first beast and forces people to worship it. This indicates that the false prophet will enforce ideological, political, and religious submission on a worldwide scale. This second beast functions as a spiritual enforcer, using religious deception to legitimize the Antichrist rule. It mirrors the role of false teachers throughout history, leading people away from true worship and toward idolatry disguised as progress and unity. One of the most chilling aspects of Revelation 13 is the implementation of the mark of the beast, which plays a crucial role in the final deception of mankind. Revelation 13:16-17 states, "It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This passage describes a global economic system where those who refuse to accept the mark are excluded from commerce. This type of control aligns with the ambitions of the little horn in Daniel's vision, which sought to dominate nations and change laws to enforce its rule. While the full implementation of the mark of the beast is yet to come, we see early signs of economic control and digital surveillance taking shape in today's world. The rise of digital currency, with a shift away from physical cash, governments and corporations now have greater power to regulate transactions. Biometric identification systems. The increasing use of facial recognition, fingerprint scanning, and microchip technology shows how centralized control could become possible. The restriction of financial services based on ideology. In some parts of the world, individuals have already been deplatformed from banking systems for holding views that contradict dominant political or social narratives. Social credit systems. The emergence of systems that reward or punish individuals based on their behavior demonstrates how a framework for compliance enforcement is already in place. The potential for an international digital ID system. Governments and global organizations continue pushing for an identity system that links financial access, travel, and digital interactions into a single, centralized database. These technological advancements lay the groundwork for a future system in which a single governing authority could dictate who can buy and sell, much like the prophecy of Revelation 13. The number 666, famously associated with the beast, has long been a topic of speculation and interpretation. In biblical numerology, the number 6 represents imperfection or incompleteness, as humanity was created on the sixth day. 3 sixes, 666, emphasize ultimate imperfection, a counterfeit of divine perfection, 777. Rather than just a literal number, 666 represents a human-driven system that seeks to replace God. It is the full manifestation of rebellion, deception, and worldly power. Some scholars believe that 666 symbolizes a comprehensive system of monitoring and control. A world in which every individual is tracked and regulated fits perfectly with the ambitions of the Antichrist and the little horn. In the modern world, we already see signs of such control emerging: the expansion of global surveillance networks, the increasing role of artificial intelligence in decision-making, the push for a unified digital identity system, the growing dependency on online financial transactions and centralized banking systems. These advancements suggest that humanity is moving toward a centralized system, one that could ultimately fulfill the prophecy of Revelation 13. The events described in Daniel 7 and Revelation 13 may seem distant, but when we examine the current state of the world, we find striking parallels that suggest the foundations for the rise of the little horn and the Antichrist are already being laid. The question is no longer if such a system could exist, but rather when it will fully emerge. The full emergence of the little horn and the Antichrist is yet to be seen, but their influence is already evident in modern ideologies, political systems, and cultural movements. The characteristics of persecution, deception, and rebellion against God are present in various global trends. Hostility toward biblical values. Laws and policies are increasingly eroding religious freedoms, forcing believers to choose between their faith and compliance with new societal norms. The normalization of deception. Truth is being redefined, and moral relativism is replacing traditional moral absolutes. Those who uphold biblical teachings are often labeled as intolerant or oppressive. The rise of a unified global ideology, movements that advocate for one-world governance, religious syncretism, and economic integration align eerily with biblical warnings about a future system where all people will be forced into submission. Increasing dependence on technology for daily life. The more humanity relies on centralized digital systems, the easier it becomes for a governing power to enforce compliance through economic or social pressure. While the little horn may not have reached its full power, its spirit is undeniably at work, preparing the world for an era where faithfulness to God will come at a great cost. The reign of the little horn, filled with deception, oppression, and rebellion against God, does not last forever. According to Daniel 7:26, The fate of this blasphemous power is sealed by divine judgment. But the court will sit, and his power will be taken away and completely destroyed forever. This judgment signifies the absolute end of the little horn's dominion. The Antichrist and his system, which once seemed invincible, are ultimately stripped of their authority and brought to total ruin. No matter how powerful the little horn appears, its time is limited. The prophecies in Daniel emphasize that God is in control, and he alone determines the rise and fall of rulers. Its global influence, which extends across religious, political, and economic spheres, is completely dismantled by God's intervention. The oppression of the saints comes to an end, and the deceptive system collapses, unable to sustain itself when faced with the ultimate truth. The imagery of the court sitting in judgment reminds us of God's sovereignty over human history. Just as past kingdoms have risen and fallen, so too will this final oppressive regime. The downfall of the little horn is not gradual, it is swift and decisive, leaving no room for recovery or resurgence. The once mighty force that sought to dominate is erased from existence. Revelation 19:20 describes the final fate of the Antichrist and the false prophet. But the beast was captured, and with it the false prophet who had performed the signs on its behalf. With these signs he had deluded those who had received the mark of the beast and worshipped its image. The two of them were thrown alive into the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This passage highlights the complete and eternal defeat of these figures. The judgment is not temporary. They are cast alive into the lake of fire, which represents eternal separation from God. The deception they spread is undone, and their system of control is shattered beyond repair. The lake of fire is symbolic of the final judgment, an unending state of destruction and suffering reserved for those who oppose God's kingdom. Unlike earthly rulers who may escape justice, the Antichrist and false prophet are immediately punished, marking the ultimate triumph of divine authority over corruption and lies. After the judgment of the little horn, Satan himself is ultimately defeated. The Bible reveals that his influence will be completely eradicated, and he will no longer be able to deceive humanity. Revelation 21:3 states, "And I saw an angel coming down out of heaven, having the key to the abyss and holding in his hand a great chain. He seized the dragon, that ancient serpent who is the devil or Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. This signifies the end of Satan's dominion over the earth. His ability to tempt and deceive is removed, preventing him from leading people astray. A period of peace and righteousness is established, where Christ reigns without opposition. The binding of Satan is an act of divine intervention, proving that no force, no matter how powerful, can withstand the will of God. The imagery of the great chain signifies absolute restriction, meaning Satan's ability to act is completely nullified. His previous dominion over the world, fueled by lies and corruption, is brought to an abrupt end, marking a new era of divine justice. Once evil is defeated, God's eternal kingdom is set up, fulfilling the prophecy of Daniel 7:27. Then the sovereignty, power, and greatness of all the kingdoms under heaven will be handed over to the holy people of the Most High. His kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all rulers will worship and obey him. This means God's people are restored to their rightful place, no longer persecuted, but reigning in righteousness. The kingdom of Christ is eternal, never to be corrupted by sin or rebellion again. Justice is fully established, and every wrong is made right under Christ's rule. The phrase everlasting kingdom emphasizes that this is not just another human-led empire. It is a divine, unchanging realm governed by the Most High. The rulers of the earth, once powerful and rebellious, now bow before Christ, acknowledging his supreme authority. The prophecies of Daniel and Revelation serve as both warnings and encouragements. They remind believers that although deception and tribulation will come, God remains sovereign. Every person is faced with a crucial decision. Will they stand with Christ, or will they be deceived by the systems of the world? Jesus warned that deception would be widespread, even leading the elect astray, Matthew 24:24. Believers must stay rooted in Scripture, ensuring they are not swayed by false teachings or worldly temptations. Faith is tested not in times of ease, but in moments of great opposition. The call for vigilance is more than just personal devotion. It is an urgent reminder to discern truth from deception in an era of increasing falsehoods. The modern world presents countless distractions and distortions, making it even more crucial to remain steadfast in faith. Every person must decide who they will serve, Christ or the world's corrupt systems. The pressure to conform will be immense, but God gives strength to those who stand firm. Revelation 14:12 calls believers to endurance. This calls for patient endurance on the part of the people of God who keep His commands and remain faithful to Jesus. Many will be led astray by promises of peace, security, or prosperity, but true peace can only be found in Christ. In the midst of trials, believers are called to persevere, trusting that God's promises will be fulfilled in His perfect timing. Throughout history, God's people have endured suffering, deception, and trials. The rise of oppressive forces, such as the little horn and the Antichrist, brings fear and hardship. But the Bible does not end in despair. It promises ultimate hope in Christ, a future where justice reigns, truth prevails, and God's kingdom stands unshaken. The Bible clearly teaches that the reign of evil is temporary, but Christ's kingdom is eternal. Revelation 21:4 paints a beautiful picture of the final victory of God's people. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. This passage is profoundly reassuring because it tells us that every wound inflicted by evil will be healed. The pain, suffering, and injustice that seems so overwhelming will be wiped away forever. There will be no more death because Christ's kingdom is eternal, untouched by corruption. The oppressive reign of the little horn, the beast, and Satan is completely erased from existence. The new order will be defined by righteousness, peace, and joy in God's presence. God's ultimate victory is not just over an earthly system of oppression, but over sin, death, and every power that stands against Him. Jesus personally assured His followers that He will return in power to bring justice and establish His kingdom. In Matthew 24:30, He declares, "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, with power and great glory." The world may ignore, reject, or fight against God, but His return is unavoidable and unstoppable. No earthly kingdom can resist His coming. No oppressive leader can prevent His rule. No false religion or deception can overshadow His truth. The triumph of Christ is not a metaphor or distant hope. It is an inevitable reality. His return will mark the end of all wickedness and the beginning of God's eternal reign. Unlike the fragile, corrupt governments of the world, Christ's kingdom will never be shaken. Daniel 7:27 reveals this powerful truth. Then the sovereignty, power, and greatness of all the kingdoms under heaven will be handed over to the holy people of the Most High. His kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all rulers will worship and obey Him. This means God's people will inherit the kingdom, no longer oppressed or persecuted. The kingdom is eternal, never to be corrupted by rebellion or sin again. All creation will recognize God's authority, and true peace will reign forever. What once seemed like an endless struggle against evil will be completely reversed. The faithful will reign with Christ, and justice will be absolute. No matter how strong the Antichrist, the little horn, or any oppressive system may appear, their defeat is already written in history. Revelation 22:12 declares, "Look, I am coming soon. My reward is with me, and I will give to each person according to what they have done." The final assurance given to believers is this: the return of Christ is not delayed. It is set by God's perfect timing. The rewards of faithfulness will be greater than any suffering endured. The justice of God is final, and no force can stand against it. Though the trials of the last days will be severe, God's promises remain unshaken. The victory belongs to Christ, and those who stand firm in faith will share in His triumph for eternity. As we have explored Daniel's vision in the book of Revelation, one thing is clear: the little horn's reign is temporary, but Christ's kingdom is eternal. No matter how much deception, oppression, or rebellion rises against God, the Bible assures us that His justice will prevail. The question now is, where do you stand? Will you remain vigilant, Discerning the truth amidst growing deception? Will you hold firm to your faith, even when the world calls you to compromise? What stood out to you most in today's discussion? Do you see signs of these prophecies playing out today? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts, so we can discuss and build a stronger community of faith. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue bringing biblical truth to more people. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update, and stay tuned for more powerful teachings from God's Word. Thank you for watching. May the grace and peace of Christ be with you always. God bless.